The stars looked different from New Horizon. That was the first thing Dr. Sarah Chen wrote in her journal when she arrived at humanity's first colony, beyond Earth's solar system. The 12 scientists had been on Kepler 442b for only 3 months, but they had already made discoveries that would change human understanding of the universe. Sarah stood in the observation dome, watching the orange sun set over purple mountains. Her team was small but dedicated. They had volunteered to leave everything behind, to spend 5 years studying this new world. Behind her, Dr. James Mitchell was analyzing soil samples. Across the room, engineer Paulo Santos was repairing a water filtration system. They were building something beautiful here, something that would last. "Contact," said Lieutenant Maria Vasquez from the communications station. Her voice was calm but alert. Maria was their security officer, a former Marine who had joined the mission to protect the science team. Sarah walked over to the console. "What kind of contact?" "Unknown vessel. Large. It just appeared in orbit." Maria's fingers moved across the screen. "They're scanning us." The 12 humans gathered around the communication station. They had hoped to meet other intelligent life someday, but not this soon. "Not when they were so unprepared. Try to establish contact," Sarah said. Her heart was beating fast, but she kept her voice steady. This was first contact. This was what humanity had dreamed about for centuries. Maria sent out a standard greeting in multiple formats: radio waves, light pulses, mathematical sequences. For 10 minutes, there was no response. Then the alien ship moved closer. "They're responding," Maria said. A screen flickered to life, showing a creature that made several team members step back. It was reptilian, covered in dark green scales. Its eyes were yellow with vertical pupils. When it opened its mouth, they saw rows of sharp teeth. The creature spoke in a language they couldn't understand. Its voice was deep and harsh, but the ship's computer was working on translation, analyzing patterns and structures. "Got it," Maria said. "The translation is rough, but I can understand the main message." "What are they saying?" Sarah asked. Maria's face went pale. "They're saying this is their territory. They're saying we're trespassing. They're calling us vermin." The alien spoke again. This time, the computer translated the words into English, displaying them on the screen. Sarah read them and felt her blood turn cold. "You have entered Catharn space without permission. You have built structures on a world claimed by the Catharn Empire. For this crime, there is only one punishment. We will make an example of you. Other species will learn not to challenge Catharn authority." "Tell them we didn't know," Sarah said quickly. "Tell them this was a mistake. We'll leave peacefully." Maria sent the message. They waited. The alien commander, whose name translated as Kavesh, seemed to consider this. Then he responded, "Your ignorance is not an excuse. The Catharn do not accept apologies. We accept only submission or death. You will choose death, so others will choose submission." "What does that mean?" Paulo asked. They found out quickly. The alien ship fired a weapon that destroyed their communications array. Then it fired again, taking out their power generator. The lights in the outpost went dark, replaced by dim emergency lighting. "They're landing troops," Maria said, checking her portable scanner. 12 of them. One for each of us." She grabbed the outpost's only weapon, a small pistol designed for use against dangerous wildlife. "Get to the safe room. Lock yourselves in. I'll try to hold them off," but Sarah knew it was hopeless. They all knew it. This wasn't a rescue mission. This was an execution. The Catharn soldiers broke through the outer doors easily. They were tall, nearly 7 feet, and they wore armor that looked like it could stop any weapon humans had brought. They moved through the outpost methodically, gathering the humans one by one. Maria fired her pistol at one of them. The energy bolt hit the alien's armor and bounced off harmlessly. The Catharn soldier grabbed Maria's arm and broke it with casual strength. She screamed. The aliens forced all 12 humans into the observation dome. Kavesh stood before them, his yellow eyes cold and reptilian. "You will die now," he said through the translator. "But first you will send a message to your people. Tell them what happens when you enter Catharn space." He pointed at the communications equipment. "Activate your broadcasting system. We will send this message throughout local space. Every species will see what happens to those who challenge us." Sarah's hands were shaking, but she did as he commanded. She activated the broadcast system, knowing that whatever happened next would be recorded and sent across the stars. Kavesh began the execution with Lieutenant Vasquez. He made it slow. He made it painful. The other 11 humans could only watch and weep. Some tried to fight, but the Catharn soldiers held them easily. Humans were weak compared to these creatures, fragile and soft. One by one, the Catharn killed the scientists. They took their time. They wanted the message to be clear. This is what happens when you defy us. Sarah was the last one alive. Blood covered the observation dome floor. Her friends, her colleagues, her family for these 3 months were all dead. She looked directly at the camera, knowing that someone on Earth would eventually see this message. "My name is Dr. Sarah Chen," she said, her voice surprisingly steady despite the tears on her face. "We came here in peace. We came here to learn, to explore, to build something beautiful. These creatures murdered us for that dream. Someone needs to know. Someone needs to remember. We were 12 people who just wanted to see the stars." She paused, then added one more sentence. "Don't let them get away with this." Kavesh stepped forward and ended her life quickly, almost mercifully compared to the others. He looked at the camera and spoke in his own language, his words translated automatically. "This is the fate of all who enter Catharn space without permission. Return to your worlds. Stay away from our territory. If you come again, we will do more than kill 12. We will destroy your entire species." He turned off the broadcast and ordered his soldiers back to their ship. The mission was complete. The message was sent. The Catharn had established dominance as they always did when encountering new species. Most species retreated after such demonstrations. Most species learned their place in the galaxy. The Catharn had no way of knowing that humans were not like most species. The broadcast traveled through space at the speed of light. It reached Earth 3 weeks later. The United Earth Council received the transmission and gathered to watch it. Politicians, military leaders, and ordinary citizens saw what had happened to the 12 colonists on New Horizon. When the broadcast ended, there was silence in the council chambers. Then Admiral Marcus Zhao, commander of Earth's defense fleet, stood up. His face was carved from stone, showing no emotion. "Shut down all communications with the Galactic Confederacy," he said quietly. "Recall all our ships, activate the emergency military production protocols, and find me everything we know about the Catharn Empire, every world they control, every ship they have, every weakness they possess." "Admiral," one of the council members said, "surely we should try diplomacy first." "We should—" "They made their choice," Zhao interrupted. His voice was still quiet, but now it carried an edge like broken glass. "They killed 12 of our people and broadcast it as a warning. They wanted to send a message. Now we'll send one back." Earth went silent. The galaxy had no idea what that silence meant. Not yet. Ambassador Talara of the Viridian Council arrived at Earth 6 weeks after the New Horizon incident. Her species had been part of the Galactic Confederacy for over 2,000 years. She had handled first contact situations dozens of times. She thought she understood how new species reacted to galactic politics. She was wrong. The humans allowed her ship to land at Geneva Spaceport. They were polite, even friendly. But there was something in their eyes that made Talara nervous. She had seen species react to Catharn aggression before. Some became angry and attacked back foolishly only to be crushed. Most became fearful and retreated. But humans showed neither anger nor fear. They showed nothing at all. "Thank you for seeing me," Talara said as she met with the United Earth Council. She stood before 50 representatives from Earth's nations, all seated in a large circular chamber. "I come to offer the Confederacy's deepest sympathies for your loss. What happened at New Horizon was tragic." "Tragic," repeated Admiral Zhao. He sat in the front row, his hands folded in his lap. "That's an interesting word choice. The Catharn are a difficult species," Talara continued. "They have aggressive customs. But they are members of the Confederacy. We have protocols for handling disputes. If you wish to file a complaint, Zhao said again. His voice was flat, emotionless. Talara felt her anxiety growing. "Yes, the Confederacy Council will review the incident. There may be sanctions, perhaps reparations. The Catharn may be forced to acknowledge their error." "Their error." Zhao stood up slowly. "Ambassador Talara, let me make sure I understand. The Catharn systematically executed 12 unarmed scientists. They broadcast it as entertainment. They threatened to exterminate our entire species. And your response is to suggest we file a complaint?" "I understand you're angry." "No," Zhao interrupted. "You don't understand." "Not at all." He gestured to a large screen on the wall. "We've been studying your Galactic Confederacy very carefully over the past weeks. We've learned a lot. Do you want to know what we've learned? Talara said nothing. We've learned that the Catharn have done this before. 47 times in the last 300 years. They enter a new species territory, kill some of them and broadcast it as a warning. And every single time, the Confederacy does exactly what you're doing now. You offer sympathy. You suggest filing complaints. You do nothing. The Confederacy prevents wars, Talara said. We maintain peace through diplomacy. You maintain order through fear, Zhao corrected. You let species like the Catharn do whatever they want because you're afraid of the alternative. You're afraid of real conflict. You're afraid of real consequences. Admiral, please. I'm trying to help you. The Catharn Empire is powerful. They have weapons you cannot imagine. If you retaliate, they will destroy you. That's why every other species eventually accepts their apology and moves on. Apology? Zhao's laugh was bitter. They haven't apologized. They made demands. They want us to abandon 8 potential colony sites. They want us to pay them for trespassing. They want us to acknowledge Catharn superiority. Then acknowledge it, Talara said urgently. Swallow your pride, survive. That's what every wise species does. Zhao walked closer to the ambassador. Ambassador Talara, I'm going to tell you something important. I want you to remember it. I want you to tell your Confederacy Council. Are you listening? Yes. Humanity doesn't work that way. We have a saying on Earth. Never start a fight, but always finish it. The Catharn started this fight. Now we're going to finish it. You can't be serious. This is suicide. Maybe, Zhao agreed. But here's something else you should know about humans. We're very good at holding grudges. We're very good at revenge. And we're very, very good at war. Talara left Earth more frightened than she'd ever been in her long life. She reported back to the Confederacy Council immediately. Most members dismissed her concerns. Humans were a new species, barely capable of FTL travel. They had no advanced weapons, no military experience in space. The Catharn would crush them quickly if they were foolish enough to try anything, but a few members paid attention. They noted that Earth had stopped all outgoing communications. They noticed that human ships were being recalled from every system. They observed massive construction projects beginning in Earth's orbit, hidden behind debris fields and careful electronic camouflage. They're building something, reported a Confederacy monitoring station. We can't tell what. They've blocked our sensors. On Earth, Admiral Zhao stood in a military factory that had been converted from automobile production. Thousands of workers were building weapons, working in 3 shifts around the clock. Every factory on Earth had been converted. Every resource was being directed toward one goal. Captain Elena Rodriguez walked beside him. She was young, only 32, but she had distinguished herself in Earth's small defense fleet. Now she was training for a special mission. The fleet will be ready in 4 months, she told Zhao. The weapons will take longer. Some of the technology is experimental. The Confederacy won't like it, Zhao said. Half of what we're building is banned by their laws. Artificial intelligence warfare systems, kinetic bombardment weapons, self-replicating mines. They consider all of it too dangerous. Good. That means they won't know how to defend against it. Rodriguez hesitated. Admiral, I have to ask, is this really necessary? 12 people died. Millions of Catharn might die if we go through with this. Is that proportional? Joe stopped walking. He turned to face her. Captain, let me ask you a question. If someone breaks into your home, murders your family, and then tells you he'll do it again if you don't obey him, what do? I stop him. Exactly. You don't file a complaint. You don't ask for mediation. You stop him. Because if you don't, he'll keep doing it. Not just to you, but to everyone else who's too afraid to stop him. But millions. The Catharn have been doing this for 3 centuries, Zhao interrupted. They've terrorized dozens of species. They kill civilians and broadcast it as entertainment. They need to be stopped. And if the Confederacy won't do it, we will. Meanwhile, in Catharn space, Commander Kavesh was being celebrated. He had successfully intimidated another species without losing a single soldier. The Emperor himself had commended Kavesh for his efficient handling of the human problem. The humans have gone silent, Kavesh reported to the Emperor, as expected. They're terrified. Have they acknowledged our territorial demands? The Emperor asked. Not yet, Majesty. But they will. They always do. The Emperor settled back on his throne. Still, their silence concerns me. Send additional patrols to the border regions. I want to know immediately if humans enter our space. As you command, Majesty. Kavesh wasn't worried. He had seen this pattern before. The humans would be angry for a while. They would make speeches and protest. Eventually, they would realize they had no choice but to submit. That's what weak species did. That's what prey species did. Humans seemed no different. 3 months after the New Horizon incident, the Galactic Confederacy sent another delegation to Earth. This time, they came with warnings. "We have detected unusual military activity," the delegation leader told the Earth Council. "You are building weapons systems that violate Confederacy law. You must stop immediately." The Earth Council's response was brief and simple. "We acknowledge your concern. We will take it under advisement," that was all. No promises, no commitments. Just empty words that meant nothing. "They're planning something," Talara told the Confederacy Council. "I'm certain of it." "Let them plan," scoffed one of the Catharn representatives. "Planning is all they can do. They have no real military power. They're children playing with toys." But Talara couldn't shake her fear. She had seen something in Admiral Zhao's eyes, something she'd never seen in any species before. It wasn't anger. It wasn't fear. It was patience. Cold, calculating patience. 6 months after the massacre at New Horizon, Earth finally sent a message to the Catharn Empire. It was simple and direct. "To the Catharn Empire, you killed 12 of our people. You threatened to exterminate our species. You have demanded our submission. We have considered your message carefully. Here is our response. We accept your declaration of war. May your gods have mercy on you, because we will not." The message was signed by Admiral Marcus Zhao, commander of the United Earth Military Fleet. Kavesh read the message and laughed. "They call it a declaration of war? They're fools. Send a response. Tell them we will crush them like insects." But the Emperor was more cautious. "How large is their fleet?" "Intelligence estimates 200 ships, Majesty. We have over 3,000. Then why do I feel uneasy?" "Because you are wise, Majesty. But unnecessary worry is wasteful. The humans are no threat." The Emperor hoped Kavesh was right, but he ordered defensive positions reinforced anyway. Something about the humans' long silence bothered him. Prey didn't go silent. Prey ran away screaming. What kind of species waited 6 months before responding to such an insult? The first Catharn patrol to die never even saw what killed them. They were monitoring a border system, checking for human activity when their ship simply exploded. One moment they were scanning empty space. The next moment, their vessel was debris spreading across the void. 23 Catharn military installations were destroyed in the first hour of the war. The attacks were perfectly coordinated, hitting targets across 6 different star systems simultaneously. Catharn commanders scrambled to understand what was happening. Their sensors showed nothing before the attacks. No ships, no weapons, no warning. Kinetic bombardment, one Catharn military analyst finally realized. They're dropping asteroids on us. It was simple but devastatingly effective. Human ships had quietly positioned thousands of small asteroids near Catharn installations weeks ago, giving them small thruster adjustments and then leaving them to drift slowly closer. The Catharn sensors, designed to detect ships and energy weapons, had ignored the slow-moving rocks. Now those rocks were being accelerated to enormous speeds and dropped directly onto military bases. The Catharn Empire mobilized its fleet, 3,000 warships, the most powerful military force in this region of the galaxy. They would crush the humans quickly, as they had crushed every other species that dared challenge them. Admiral Zhao watched the Catharn fleet movements from his command ship, the Beijing. Around him, officers monitored screens showing the entire battlefield. The human fleet had only 200 ships, but each one had been designed with a single purpose: killing Catharn. "They're moving in traditional formation," reported his tactical officer. "Standard battlecruiser approach. They expect us to meet them head-on. Then we'll disappoint them," Zhao said. "Execute scatter pattern Delta. All ships activate stealth systems." The Catharn fleet arrived at the coordinates where human ships had been detected. They found nothing. The human fleet had vanished. "Where did they go?" demanded Catharn Fleet Admiral Throck. "Find them." His sensors detected nothing. Human ships had technology the Catharn had never seen before. Adaptive camouflage that made them nearly invisible, heat sinks that masked their energy signatures, and electronic warfare systems that confused Catharn targeting computers. The Catharn fleet spread out, searching. That was exactly what Zhao wanted them to do. "Target their command ship," Zhao ordered. "All missile batteries fire." The Beijing uncloaked directly behind the Catharn flagship. Before the aliens could react, 300 missiles launched from human ships that had been hiding in the shadows of nearby asteroids. The missiles weren't normal explosives. They were equipped with artificial intelligence that let them communicate with each other, adjust their paths, and coordinate their attack patterns to overwhelm point defense systems. The Catharn flagship's automated defenses destroyed the first wave of missiles. The second wave adjusted their approach based on what the first wave had learned. The third wave found weaknesses in the defense grid. By the fifth wave, missiles were getting through. Admiral Thurok's ship took 17 direct hits. Its shields collapsed. Its armor cracked. Atmosphere vented into space. Thurok died along with 3,000 of his crew. The battle lasted 6 hours. When it ended, the Catharn had lost 42 ships. The humans had lost 3. It wasn't a battle. It was a massacre. The news spread across the galaxy within days. The mighty Catharn Empire, feared by all, had been defeated by a species that had barely achieved FTL travel. The Galactic Confederacy called for an immediate ceasefire. Earth's response was simple: no. Captain Elena Rodriguez stood in the cargo bay of her ship, the Valkyrie, preparing for her mission. She and her team of 20 Special Forces soldiers were about to attempt something the galaxy considered impossible: infiltrating a Catharn military shipyard. The target is the Drakmor shipyard, Rodriguez told her team. It's their primary construction facility. Intelligence says they're building 200 new warships there. Our job is to make sure those ships never launch. How? Asked Sergeant Marcus Webb. The place is defended by 50,000 troops. We're not going to fight 50,000 troops, Rodriguez said with a cold smile. We're going in quiet. One team, one objective. We blow the reactor core and get out. They approached the shipyard in a captured Catharn supply ship. The disguise was good enough to fool the perimeter defenses. They docked without challenge. Remember, Rodriguez whispered as they moved through the station, Catharn have better hearing than us. Watch your movements. Stay in the shadows. The Catharn weren't expecting infiltrators. Why would they be? No species had ever been crazy enough to try. Their internal security was designed to prevent worker accidents, not military raids. Rodriguez's team moved through the shipyard like ghosts. They planted explosive charges on the main reactor supports, timed to detonate simultaneously. Then they returned to their ship and departed still undetected. The shipyard exploded 20 minutes later. The reactor core breach destroyed not just the station, but every ship docked there. 200 Catharn warships, each representing years of construction work, were reduced to molten metal in seconds. The Catharn Empire began to panic. These humans fought unlike any species they'd encountered. They didn't follow the civilized rules of warfare. They didn't announce their attacks. They didn't give warnings. They simply killed, efficiently and remorselessly. We need to negotiate, one Catharn council member said. This war is not going as expected. The Catharn do not negotiate with prey, shouted another. We are the dominant species. We will crush these humans. But privately, many Catharn leaders were frightened. Human attacks were unpredictable. Human weapons were terrifying. Worst of all, humans seemed to have no fear of death. Catharn soldiers fought bravely when victory was likely, but retreated when faced with certain death. Human soldiers kept fighting even when surrounded, even when wounded, even when their situation was hopeless. They're insane, reported one Catharn commander after a battle. We had them trapped. We outnumbered them 5-1. They should have surrendered. Instead, they fought until every single one was dead. They took 300 of my soldiers with them. The Galactic Confederacy tried again to mediate. Ambassador Talara met with Admiral Zhao on a neutral station. You've made your point, Talara said. You've shown the galaxy that humans are strong. You've avenged your dead. Now please stop this before more lives are lost. We've killed about 100,000 Catharn, Zhao said calmly. That's roughly 8,000 Catharn for each human they murdered. I don't consider that sufficient, Talara felt sick. What would be sufficient? When the Catharn Empire is destroyed, when every Catharn world that supported the massacre is occupied, when Commander Kavesh and everyone who participated in the executions is dead, when the Catharn as a species understands that killing humans has consequences that will haunt them for generations, that will be sufficient. That's genocide. No, Zhao corrected. Genocide is the extermination of a species. We're not killing every Catharn. We're destroying their empire, their military, and their ability to hurt anyone else. The Catharn people will survive. They'll just learn to be peaceful. They'll never surrender to those terms. Then they'll die fighting, Zhao said simply. I don't really care which they choose. Talara realized with horror that he meant it. Admiral Zhao would prosecute this war until the Catharn Empire ceased to exist, no matter how many died. She had thought humans were like other species, capable of reason and compromise. She was wrong. Humans were something else entirely. They were patient enough to wait 6 months before attacking. They were creative enough to invent entirely new forms of warfare. They were ruthless enough to target civilian infrastructure, and they were angry enough to destroy an entire civilization for the deaths of 12 people. We've created a monster, Talara whispered as she left the meeting. But she was wrong about that too. Humanity hadn't changed. They had always been this way. They had simply never had a reason to show it before. On Earth, people watched news reports of the war with mixed emotions. Some celebrated the victories. Others protested the mounting death toll. But everyone agreed on one thing. The Catharn had made a terrible mistake. They thought we were weak because we're curious, one news commentator said. They thought we were prey because we explore peacefully. They forgot that humans didn't become the dominant species on Earth by being gentle. We became dominant by being the best hunters our planet ever produced. We hunted mammoths to extinction. We hunted saber-toothed cats to extinction. We hunted Neanderthals to extinction. And now the Catharn are learning what it means to be hunted by humans. Commander Kavesh watched these broadcasts from his command post. He had been so confident 6 months ago. He had executed 12 humans and expected their species to submit. Instead, he had awakened something terrible. His empire was dying, and it was his fault. He requested an audience with the Emperor. Majesty, I take full responsibility for this disaster. I should have investigated the humans more carefully before acting. I should have understood their nature. It's too late for regrets, the Emperor said wearily. The humans want my head. They want your head. They want the heads of everyone who was at New Horizon. And they won't stop until they get them. Then give them what they want, Kavesh said. Surrender me to the humans. Perhaps they'll accept that. Do you think that the Catharn Empire requested help from the Galactic Confederacy for the first time in their 300-year membership? They had always been the ones other species feared. Now they were the ones who were afraid. The humans are monsters, the Catharn ambassador declared before the Confederacy Council. They violate every law of civilized warfare. They use forbidden weapons. They target civilian infrastructure. They refuse all attempts at peace. We request Confederacy military intervention. 5 species pledged their support immediately. The Catharn had been useful allies in the past, and besides, humanity's new weapons technology was frightening. If humans could defeat the Catharn, no species was safe. Admiral Zhao received the news while planning the invasion of the Catharn homeworld. He read the report about Confederacy intervention without emotion, then activated the emergency broadcast system. Every species in the Confederacy received the same message simultaneously. It showed Admiral Zhao standing in front of a display showing human military capabilities. Behind him, screens displayed footage of human weapons in action, kinetic bombardment destroying cities, missile swarms overwhelming defensive fleets, special forces teams infiltrating secure installations. To the members of the Galactic Confederacy, Zhao began. You are considering military intervention in our conflict with the Catharn Empire. Before you make that decision, I want you to understand something clearly. We are currently dedicating 30% of our military capacity to fighting the Catharn. If you intervene on their behalf, we will consider you enemies of humanity. We will bring our full military capacity to bear against you, and I promise you this, you will regret it. He paused, letting his words sink in. The Catharn killed 12 of our people. We have killed over 3 million of theirs. That is what happens when you attack 12 humans. Imagine what will happen if you attack 3 billion. Stay out of this war. It is not your fight. If you make it your fight, we will show you what total war really means. The broadcast ended. The Confederacy Council convened an emergency session. 3 of the 5 species that had pledged support immediately withdrew it. The other 2 hesitated, waiting to see what would happen next. He's bluffing, insisted the Catharn ambassador. Humans don't have the capacity to fight multiple species simultaneously. But Ambassador Talara wasn't sure. She had been studying human history during the past months, reading about their wars, their conflicts, their evolution. What she learned terrified her. "Do you know what humans did on their own planet?" she asked the council. "They fought wars that killed hundreds of millions of their own species. They invented weapons capable of destroying their entire world. They fought for centuries over resources, territory, ideology, and religion, and they never stopped advancing, never stopped improving their ability to kill. Many species have violent histories," another ambassador said dismissively. "Not like humans," Talara insisted. "Most species develop warfare alongside other technologies. They learn to fight and learn to cooperate in parallel. Humans are different. They're persistence predators. Their entire evolution is based on chasing prey until it collapses from exhaustion. They never give up. They never stop. And now they're hunting the Catharn." The council decided to maintain neutrality. It wasn't worth the risk. Captain Elena Rodriguez led the assault on the Catharn colony world of Treshkar. It was a military planet, home to 2 million Catharn soldiers and their families. Intelligence indicated the planet had extensive underground bunkers and defensive installations. "Rules of engagement are clear," Rodriguez told her battalion commanders. "Military targets only. We're not here to kill civilians. If they surrender, we take them prisoner. If they fight, we put them down." Questions? "What about civilian areas near military targets?" one commander asked. Rodriguez's jaw tightened. "We warn them first. Give them time to evacuate. Then we hit the target. This is war, but we're not the Catharn. We don't murder people for entertainment." The invasion began with electromagnetic pulse weapons that disabled the planet's defensive grid. Then human troops landed in transport ships, moving quickly to secure strategic locations. The Catharn fought hard, but human soldiers had better training, better tactics, and better motivation. Every human soldier knew about New Horizon. Every human soldier had seen the execution videos. The battle for Treshkar lasted 3 days. When it ended, the planet was under human control. 50,000 Catharn soldiers were dead. 2,000 human soldiers had died taking the planet. But the victory felt hollow to Rodriguez. She walked through a destroyed military command center and saw Catharn bodies everywhere. Most were soldiers, but some were administrative staff, medics, even children who had been visiting their parents at work. "Captain," her communications officer called. "We're receiving a transmission from Admiral Zhao." Rodriguez activated the link. Zhao's face appeared on her screen. "Good work on Treshkar, Captain. Your next assignment is the civilian evacuation planet of Kreshinor. Intelligence indicates Catharn High Command has retreated there." "Kreshinor is a refugee world," Rodriguez said carefully. "There are millions of civilians there, families fleeing the war zones." "I'm aware," Zhao said. "But Catharn leadership is hiding among those civilians, using them as shields. We need to root them out. Sir, if we attack Kreshinor, civilian casualties will be massive. Then warn them first. Tell them to evacuate. Give them 72 hours. After that, anyone remaining is considered hostile." "Admiral, with respect, 72 hours isn't enough time to evacuate millions of people. We'll be killing civilians." Zhao's expression hardened. "Captain Rodriguez, do you remember Dr. Sarah Chen? She was a botanist. Her specialty was developing crops that could grow on alien worlds. She wanted to help feed the galaxy. The Catharn cut her throat and broadcast it for entertainment." "I remember, sir." "Do you remember Lieutenant Maria Vasquez? She begged for mercy. She told the Catharn she had a daughter back on Earth. They broke her arms and legs before killing her." "Do you remember Paulo Santos? James Mitchell? Any of the 12 people who died screaming while the galaxy watched?" "I remember all of them, sir." "Then you understand why we can't stop. The Catharn need to learn that there are consequences for their actions. Every Catharn world that supported the military needs to understand what they've done. If some civilians die in the process, that's unfortunate. But it's still better than what the Catharn have been doing to other species for 3 centuries. Rodriguez wanted to argue, but she knew it was pointless. Admiral Zhao was right in a way. The Catharn had been brutal oppressors for generations. They had killed thousands of civilians from dozens of species. Someone needed to stop them, but did that justify becoming like them? "I'll carry out my orders, sir," Rodriguez said finally. The attack on Kreshinor became a turning point in public opinion. Humans watched as their military gave 72 hours warning, then systematically bombed the planet's infrastructure. The Catharn government had indeed been hiding there, using civilians as shields. Most of the leadership was killed in the attack, so were 800,000 civilians. Protests erupted on Earth. Millions of people marched in the streets, demanding an end to the war. The United Earth Council was divided. Some representatives argued that the war had achieved its purpose and should end. Others insisted that stopping now would make all the deaths meaningless. Admiral Zhao appeared before the council to defend his strategy. "The Catharn military is broken," he reported. "They've lost 90% of their fleet. Their infrastructure is destroyed. Their economy is collapsing, but their government refuses to surrender. They're dragging this out, hoping we'll lose our nerve." "We've killed 8 million Catharn," one council member said. 8 million for 12 humans. How is that justice? "It's not about justice anymore," Zhao admitted. "It's about deterrence. Every species in the galaxy is watching this war. They're learning a lesson. Don't attack humans. The cost is too high. If we stop now, if we let the Catharn government survive, that lesson is weakened. Other species will think they can attack us and negotiate their way out. So we keep killing until what? Until the Catharn Empire ceases to exist?" "Yes," Zhao said simply. "That's exactly what we do." Commander Kavesh watched his empire collapse around him. The Emperor was dead, killed in the bombing of Kreshnor. Most of the high command was gone. The Catharn people were in chaos. Their government fractured, their military defeated. Kavesh still commanded one of the few remaining battle groups, stationed at the homeworld's defense. He knew the humans would come for the homeworld eventually. It was their final target, the last symbol of Catharn power. He gathered his officers for what he knew would be his final briefing. "The humans are coming," he told them. "Our scouts detected their fleet 3 days out. Admiral Zhao is leading them personally. They will demand our surrender. The civilian government wants to give it to them." "What do you want us to do, Commander?" one officer asked. Kavesh looked at the faces of his soldiers. Many were young, barely trained. The experienced veterans were all dead, killed in earlier battles. These were the last defenders of the Catharn homeworld. "I'm going to surrender," Kavesh said. The war officially ended on a cold morning in March, exactly 8 months and 13 days after the massacre at New Horizon. Commander Kavesh stood in chains before Admiral Zhao on the bridge of the Beijing. Behind him, the Catharn homeworld filled the viewport, scarred and broken but still intact. "I am yours to judge," Kavesh said in carefully practiced English. He wanted the humans to understand his words without translation. "I accept full responsibility for what happened. I killed your people. I started this war. Do with me what you will." Zhao looked at the Catharn commander for a long moment. Kavesh had expected to see hatred in the human's eyes, perhaps satisfaction at his defeat. Instead, he saw only weariness. "Do you understand what you've done?" Zhao asked quietly. "I killed 12 humans. No, you killed millions of your own people. You destroyed an empire that stood for 3 centuries. You made your entire species into a cautionary tale that will be told across the galaxy for thousands of years. The 12 humans at New Horizon? They're martyrs now. Their names will be remembered forever. Your name will also be remembered, but as the fool who taught the galaxy to fear humanity." Kavesh felt the truth of those words like a physical blow. "What will you do with me?" he asked. "You'll stand trial," Zhao said. "On Earth. You'll face the families of the people you murdered. You'll testify about everything that happened, and then you'll spend the rest of your life in a human prison, thinking about the consequences of your actions. You won't execute me? Death would be too easy," Zhao said. "You need to live. You need to see what becomes of your empire. You need to watch your people rebuild under human supervision. You need to understand deeply and completely the cost of your arrogance." Kavesh was taken away. The Catharn government officially surrendered hours later, signing the Treaty of Earth. The terms were harsh: complete military disarmament, occupation of key worlds, reparations paid over a century, and oversight by a human administration council. The final death toll was staggering. 8.7 million Catharn had died during the 8-month war. Their military was completely destroyed. Their economy was in ruins. 17 of their colony worlds were occupied by human forces. The proud Catharn Empire, which had dominated this region of space for centuries, ceased to exist, all because they had killed 12 humans. The Galactic Confederacy offered humanity a permanent seat on the High Council. It was a position usually reserved for ancient species with millennia of civilization. Humanity had been a spacefaring species for less than a century, but the Confederacy had learned its lesson. Humanity was not like other species. They couldn't be intimidated. They couldn't be threatened. They had to be respected, or they would demand that respect at gunpoint. Ambassador Talara delivered the invitation personally. She met with Admiral Zhao one final time, in a conference room on the Beijing. The Council hopes this will mark a new era of cooperation between humanity and the rest of the galaxy, she said. Translation: "You're afraid we'll attack someone else?" She replied. Talara didn't deny it. "Yes, frankly, Admiral, the galaxy is terrified of you. You've shown capabilities we didn't think possible. You've demonstrated a capacity for violence that exceeds any species we've encountered. The Council believes it's better to have you inside the system than outside it." "We'll accept the seat," Zhao said. "But understand this. We won't participate in your tradition of letting aggressive species do whatever they want. If we see another species committing atrocities like the Catharn did, we'll stop them, with or without Confederacy approval." "I understand. And honestly, I think that might be good for the galaxy. The Confederacy has been too passive for too long. Perhaps humanity's directness will encourage us to actually enforce our own laws." After Talara left, Captain Elena Rodriguez entered the room. She had been waiting to speak with the Admiral privately. "Permission to speak freely, sir?" she asked. "Always, Captain. Was it worth it? 8 million dead for 12? Zhao was silent for a long moment. "I ask myself that question every day. I look at the casualty reports. I see the numbers. 8.7 million Catharn. 43,000 humans. Billions more affected by the war. All because of one incident. And your answer? Strategically, yes. No species will dare attack human civilians now. We've established a deterrent that will protect humanity for generations."
"Morally?"
He shook his head. "I don't know. I'm not sure I'll ever know. That's a question for historians and philosophers. What about you, sir? What happens to Admiral Marcus Zhao now that the war is over? I've submitted my resignation. The Council accepted it. I'm retiring to Montana, to a cabin in the mountains. I'm going to spend the rest of my life trying to figure out if I'm a hero or a monster." Rodriguez understood. She had her own doubts, her own guilt about the things she'd done during the war. Treshkar. Kreshnor. The civilian casualties. The surrendering soldiers who died because someone had to pay for New Horizon. For what it's worth, sir, I think you did what needed to be done. The Catharn were never going to stop. Someone had to stop them. Maybe. But I wonder if we could have stopped them with less bloodshed, if we could have been more surgical, more precise, if we could have achieved our goals without becoming the thing we hated. 6 months after the war ended, Earth built a memorial to the 12 who died at New Horizon. It stood in Geneva, near the spaceport where humanity reached for the stars. The monument was simple: 12 pillars of polished stone, each bearing a name. Dr. Sarah Chen, Lieutenant Maria Vasquez, Dr. James Mitchell, Engineer Paulo Santos, Dr. Rebecca Walsh, Dr. Yuki Tanaka, Dr. Ahmed Hassan, Dr. Catherine O'Brien, Dr. Marcus Johnson, Dr. Lee Wei, Dr. Ana Rodriguez, Dr. Thomas Kowalski. Beneath the names, an inscription read, "They reached for the stars in peace. They died for humanity's future. May we prove worthy of their sacrifice." Millions visited the memorial every year. Some came to honor the dead. Others came to reflect on what their deaths had caused. The memorial became a place of both pride and sorrow, a reminder of both humanity's strength and its capacity for terrible violence. Captain Rodriguez, now promoted to admiral and assigned to diplomatic duties, brought every graduating class of military officers to the memorial. She made them read the names aloud. She made them understand what those 12 deaths had triggered. These 12 people changed the galaxy, she told each new class, not because they wanted to, but because they dared to explore. When they were killed, humanity responded with a fury that shocked every species in space. We killed millions to avenge 12. We destroyed an empire to honor their memory. Was it right? Was it just? You'll have to decide that for yourselves. But never forget, those 12 deaths made humanity into a galactic power. They taught the universe to respect us, and they taught us what we're capable of when we're truly angry. The Catharn people slowly rebuilt their civilization under human supervision. It took decades, but eventually they developed a new culture, one based on cooperation rather than dominance. Young Catharn grew up learning about the war as a cautionary tale. They studied Commander Kavesh's trial, his testimony, his admission of guilt. "We thought humans were weak," Kavesh had said during the trial. "We thought they were prey. We were wrong. Humans are predators. They're just predators who prefer to be peaceful. But when you hurt them, when you kill them, they become something else entirely. They become hunters, and they will hunt you until you're destroyed or you surrender. That is the lesson my arrogance taught our species. Kavesh lived for 37 years after the trial, confined to a human prison colony. He spent his time writing, documenting everything he knew about Catharn military history and culture. His writings became the foundation for the new Catharn identity, one that acknowledged their past mistakes and tried to build something better. When he finally died at the age of 83, humans gave him a proper burial according to Catharn customs. His grave marker bore a simple inscription: "He started a war that destroyed an empire. May we learn from his mistakes." 50 years after the war, a Catharn delegation visited the memorial in Geneva. They came to pay respects to the 12 humans whose deaths had changed both their species' histories. The delegation leader, a young Catharn diplomat named Tessara, who had been born after the war, laid flowers at each pillar. "We cannot undo what our ancestors did," she said in a public ceremony. "We cannot bring these 12 people back, but we can honor their memory by building a better future. The Catharn of today are not the Catharn of yesterday. We have learned. We have changed. And we hope that one day humans can forgive us." The ceremony was broadcast across the galaxy. Many species watched it, remembering the war, remembering the lessons it taught. In a small cafe on Mars, an elderly man watched the broadcast alone. Admiral Marcus Chow had been retired for decades now. He had his cabin in Montana, his peace and quiet, his time to reflect, but he still followed galactic news. He still wondered about the decisions he'd made. He watched the young Catharn diplomat speak about peace and understanding, and he felt a complex mix of emotions. Pride that the war had achieved its goal, sorrow for all who died, uncertainty about whether it had been worth the cost.